My name is Kendra Bailey Morris, and I'm a cookbook author, and I'm a cooking teacher, and I'm a home cook. And we are here in my kitchen in Richmond, Virginia. Let's see, I kind of got into food and cooking in a roundabout way. I started in writing to start off with. I did a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing at Virginia Commonwealth University. During that time, I worked in a lot of restaurants in front of the house, and I worked back in the house, and I catered, and I come from a family that loves to eat and loves to cook. My mom's a great cook. My grandma's a great cook. You know, we're from originally from West Virginia and Southwest Virginia, so we like that good Appalachian mountain country cooking. So it was always something that was part of our lives. And then eventually I decided, you know what, I think as much as I love writing, I also want to do cooking. And at the time, there was really no such thing as a food writer. Well, there was such a thing as a food writer. There wasn't the mass amount of food writers that are out there today. It was a handful of people that kind of did it. And I said, you know what? I love cooking. I love writing. Why don't I start writing about food? And then it just kind of came to pass. And here I am, a couple cookbooks later, and still writing about food and still cooking and now teaching it too. I went to a symposium called the Symposium for Professional Food Writers at the Greenbrier back in 2003, and I happened to meet the head of a publishing company called 10 Speed Press, and I love their work and I love their cookbooks, and myself and this lady sat down and had a really great conversation. They had written a book, or had published a book rather, called White Trash Cooking. I know it's a crazy title. They had published this book back in the 80s, and I was a huge fan of it. And I went up and I talked to her and I said, you know what, I love this book. I love what you guys do, and it's just really great to meet you. And I thought that was the end of it. Not too long after, they called me and said, you know what, we're thinking of doing a follow-up to this book. We want to call it, give it an entertaining angle and call it White Trash Gatherings. And I said, that's awesome. Why are you calling me? And they said, because we're interested in having you write it. And I went, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Yes, of course. So long story short, lots of proposals and back and forths and editing. Later in 2006, that book came out. And that was my first book, and that's how it came to pass. So it was hard work and a whole lot of luck. Definitely Southern and comfort food. That's what I grew up eating, and you know, I'm beans and cornbread, grits and biscuits, country ham, fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, collard greens kind of girl all the way. That's the food I love to cook, and it's the food I love to eat. It's basically the subject matter of my books and a lot of my writing, and so you know, it's kind of a natural transition. But you know, of course, at home we cook everything, but I still lean towards the comfort stuff. Stuff makes you feel good, you know, inside. My favorite thing about cooking and food is just cooking for people. I love to do it. I love have people gather around the table, and you know, I just go into the kitchen, and if it's my family, more often than not, it's just my husband, so he eats really well, you know, and he complains I make him fat. But but I just have always loved that. It's something, like I said, my family, we've always gathered at the table. It's a very Southern thing, and you know, we call it the welcome table. Anybody's welcome to pull up a chair and sit down, kind of thing. That's what I love about cooking, is just being in the kitchen. It's very relaxing. I love, you know, trying new recipes. I always gravitate towards the old classic ones as well, and just, you know, having some folks out there that are excited to eat my food. You know, I mean, it's really that simple. It's so basic, but you know, that's what it is. And in the industry, I think is different. You know, I think the two are combined, but they're also a little bit separate, because the industry is work, and like what I want to do on a Sunday is come in here and not work and just, you know, I don't know, put something in a pot and let it go all day long. And so, but they obviously still come together. So, you know, that's really hard, and I'll tell you why. Because what's so awesome about Virginia, I think, is it's so diverse. I mean, if you go up to Northern Virginia, you're going to get the food of you know, a lot more international food. You know, a lot of people have immigrated to DC or moved to DC from other countries, and you know, you have this melting pot of all this. You can get African food, you can get Korean food, you know, just wonderful things. And then you go, you know, to the coast, and then you're going to have, you know, the stuff that's really heavily seafood based, obviously surrounded, you know, by the fishing industry and great shrimp and whatever. And then you're going to go to Southwest Virginia in the mountains, and it's completely different. I mean, that's Appalachian country cooking. You know, it's just like I said, this is stuff I grew up on, so I'm slightly partial to it. But I think the beauty of Virginia food in general is the diversity of so many different things. You know, it's Southern in a lot of ways, but it's also, there's a lot of international cooking. And you look at Richmond, for example, and you have these wonderful Vietnamese restaurants here, and, you know, wonderful Mexican restaurants and Hispanic restaurants. And it's this melting pot of all these different cuisines that kind of make up Virginia and make up Southern cooking as well, which people wouldn't normally think of that, because you go, oh, well, this is, you know, Vietnamese food or Mexican food. Well, how can that be Southern? Well, it is. It's people live here, and this is what they're cooking in this part of the South. So big melting pot. I kind of dig it. It's going to have to be family. It's going to have to be family. There's no question. My fondest memories are being in my grandmother's kitchen with the whole family there. And she just had this tiny house and this tiny kitchen. She didn't even have a dishwasher, just in the mountains. And we would all cram in there. My mom, my aunt, my grandmothers, my dad, my uncle, my cousins, I mean, everybody, and would make this amazing meal. With my grandmother cooking most of it, of course, because she, you know, this was her show. And I mean, it was enough food for 50 people, but it was just the best memories of being in that kitchen and being with my family and sharing food and fellowship and everyone coming together. And my grandmother has, you know, passed on now, and the house that she lived in is gone. And so, you know, it's kind of sad that is not with us. I mean, she's not with us, and you know, the home and all those memories are still there, but it just kind of breaks my heart that it's gone. But the wonderful thing about food and cooking and family is that everybody, you know, still comes together, and my family still does that now. We're a smaller group now, but we still do it. And I mean, that's what I think is the best part about food and cooking, to me.